Actually, by that unit, we just taught that unit. They would go, okay, plus 10 plus 20, now plus 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For kids that are still developing number sense, and the blocks throw them off, especially when this is a composing problem, this is a phenomenal strategy. I would say a good third of my kids still use this strategy as their favorite strategy. And the same goes for subtraction. If we start with 67, subtract 29. By then, they've learned 29 because we've taught the break apart strategy. Is 20 plus 9. So they start with 67, subtract 20, 10, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we encourage them to literally put something there with the dry erase so they can keep track of the counting. And so it works with addition and subtraction. We actually even have the thousands board, you can add hundreds. But unless a kid has really good number sense, that's very difficult. But just on the hundreds and 200s board, these are great ways to do the addition and subtraction. Okay. Values of coins. That's what we are working on now. We know that there's not a lot of that in the early curriculum, but there are kids that are ready for it all the time. So here's a great way to do it with number sense. We're teaching touch math, that every coin that you use, except for the penny, is a skip count by 5. So, for example, haven't made our poster yet. A quarter gets 5 dots or 5 circles. Each circle represents 5.
And they touch at 5, 10, 15,
yes.
20, 25.
And when they draw them on the dry erase board, they literally put the circles and they touch. And then a dime would get 2. And they really do begin to memorize that. So that, again, it's back on skip counting, but let's say we have a quarter, a dime, and a penny. They know a quarter is 5 dots or circles. A dime is 2, and a penny is none because it's switching to counting by ones. So kids that don't go right to 25 plus 10, they can do 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Now I've got 2 dots for 10, 30, 35, and then just count by ones. So the value would be 36 cents. So you can use it for counting coins also.
We did both strategies, touch math and hundred strategy.
Oh yeah, lots of strategies. But this is just another way to use the hundreds board. And then multiplication. It is not in our curriculum, but many kids are ready. So we teach it via repeated addition if kids do need it. And one way to do it is with the hundreds board. For example, I do have a student right now that's working on multiplication because she has fully mastered, probably faster than I can, her addition and subtraction. In fact, she's in Kumon. So if I do 6 times 4, okay, we talk about it first. This is 6 4s or 4 6s, and let's just take the 6s. They practice counting by 6. Okay. And what's nice is to start off letting them do all the multiples of 6, count by 6 all day now, because kids will start to realize, there's a pattern here. Especially those kids that are ready for this. So it's just another way to use the hundreds board to multiply. It's a good way to teach kids that have that good number sense. It makes perfect sense to them.
And in my class, a lot of the students can get confused with like 10 more, 10 less, 1 more, 1 less. And again, as we said, day 4, you have to do the 2,000 or the 100,000 chart, and they're like, oh, that's a lot of numbers. And so, can you go back to the chart? So, what I do is I do a little dance, and I have different arrows that go up and down. I forgot it in my room, but what we do is we start, and I put a hundreds mark on the board, and so then we go and we start dancing. We go 1 more, 1 more, 1 more, 1 more. So they learn 1 more gets bigger. And then they go 1 less, 1 less, 1 less, 1 less. Then they learn 10 more goes backwards or down. So then we go 10 more, 10 more. We take little baby steps. 10 more, 10 more. And then we go 10 less, 10 less, 10 less, 10 less. Now for the thousands, when we're doing 100 more, we get a real low, deep voice, and we go 100 more, 100 more, 100 more, 100 more. So they know it's not a little step, it's a big, 10 jumps. And then 100 less, 100 less, 100 less, 100 less. So that's a little dance they do, and they always look at the arrows. Oh, breath, sorry. So then they look at the arrows to see which way that they, need to go. They're like, wait, which way? Which one's more? Which one's less? So that's just one of the. We do a lot of dancing in my classroom. So one way to practice that.
Are you daring to turn her back to her students?
I know. I look pregnant. Thank you.
And then base 10 blocks. Almost everyone has lots of uses for base 10 blocks. But what we really wanted to show, and these are kind of all related, is how to do one more, one less. I think most people know how to do one more, one less with base 10 blocks, and I know kindergarten and maybe pre-K does one more, one less. Adding and subtracting, for those of you that might not know, and that's the one I skipped last time. Okay. What they might do, and I'm going to do a more advanced problem, which is like what we just did in second grade. Let's say I have 54 plus 28. Okay. I would literally get the base 10 blocks out, but I sometimes make that pretty cool.
Or digiblocks too, either one.
50, 1, 2, 3, 4. When we try to teach them to make two different shapes for that instead of because if you teach them to draw a little square there and a rectangle here, they end up looking just like each other. So if you teach them to draw two different symbols, it's really helpful. It's only taken me 27 years to figure that out. And then plus 28. Okay. This is a composing problem, so this will be much more advanced. Okay. They realize they have 12 here, where you can't put a 12 in the ones. So they learn how to take 10 away and compose it into a 10. Okay, this is a big, we spend weeks and weeks on this. Okay, and it's the same for subtraction, just opposite.
Except with subtraction, we only have them draw the top number. They don't draw the top number on the bottom number. They draw the top number so they can
start taking
away from the top number, because then they get real confused.
I can show you that.
Yeah, so subtraction was a little more difficult.
So let's say I have 35 subtract 18. Okay, you only model 35. And we go through this over and over again. Okay, and then sometimes some kids like to write subtract 18. Okay, some kids do not. We let them use the dry erase boards right on these, and all these are. Mine are old and tired, but they still work.
Oh, cool.
I had a parent make them one year, laminate them, and you can see they get a little dry erase dirty, but that's fine. They're used, they're well loved.
And they're also in the math lab.
And they know to start with the ones, so they cannot take away ones. So they learn, well, how can I get, if I know my number's big enough, and so they learn to take a 10,
decompose,
and decompose it, take it apart. Back in the day, it was regroup it, okay, and trade it for 10. Borrow, yeah. We're not really borrowing.
We're taking away, right?
You're decomposing it, and then drawing 10 more over here. I usually make my kids separate them though, and then they know now they can take away 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And they'll erase them. Does that make you crazy? That's second grade. But now I'm going to teach you a way. Okay? That's a nice way to prepare for that. We play a game that I think I learned years ago from Terry Fainer. Those of us that have been here a little while. We're well seasoned. The first game, we call it Race to 100, but we now call it Race to 50 because we realize we don't have enough time. So what we're trying to do is get to 50 on this board first. And what we usually do is have two kids work together as a team to get there. And then once they learn a little better, they play against each other, and that's a lot of fun for them. And what they do is they roll a die, and they're in there. Kids that are more advanced can roll 2 die and add the numbers together. And let's say I roll a 7. So I know I have to put 7 ones. I'll try and write neater. Okay. And then we roll again, and let's say this time we get 5. I have to put 5 more. And when I count now, I have 5, 10, 12. And I know I cannot put 2 numbers, 2 digits, in one place value spot. So we learned that the magic composing and decomposing number, when we teach that language, compose, is 10. So now I can take 10, compose them into a 10, and we would literally use the base 10 blocks that are on the table to do this, and then they would write their new number. And my kids, obviously these would be gone, so I'm going to erase them. I just wanted to show you the thinking process. So my new number is now 12. Okay. And they go through this until they get to 50, or whichever number you want to have them race to. That's what we call it, race to something. So they talk about each step. I have to compose because I don't, or I have 2 digits in the ones place, and I can't have that. Now on the opposite, we do this right before we get ready to teach addition with composing. And on the opposite, what we do is we do raise to 0. Okay, and that's the subtraction with decomposing. Okay, and what they might start with is 50.
And it's really good for this to use the 10 cases, you know, with the digiblocks.
Yeah, digiblocks work well too.
Because they can stuff
Some kids
them
are
in.
awful with digiblocks.
Well, then they go everywhere.
You know, you guys know, you have to let them kind of
Yeah.
figure what works best for them. Okay? And so they roll the dice, and let's say they roll a 5. Now, you can also use the 10-sided dice, which we all have in here. So they need to subtract 5. They don't have enough. And if 50 is big enough, how do you get enough? You decompose a 10 into 10 ones. Now I can subtract 5. Okay, and my new number is 45. Like I said, they use the discourse with one another, talking about why they're doing it. If they get good enough, you have to play against each other, and whoever gets 0 first wins.
And a question was asked last time, how did the parents, you know, how are they responding, things like that. Well, at the beginning of the year in our second grade packet, we put all of the addition subtraction strategies we use. We then at conferences said, all right, we are going to be learning composing and decomposing. This is not the way you learned how to do it. Here are 6 strategies in subtraction, 6 strategies in addition. Here's your homework. Please put it by where the kids do their homework, kind of thing. Because the parents are like, what? So at some of the conferences, I had to actually explain to them. But again, giving them those resources that they had that language, so when they went home, and we don't force the kids, we teach them every single strategy, and then after that, then they get to choose what strategy works best for them. A lot of them chose the hundreds boards, some with pictures, things
Some
like that.
are ready for
Number line,
algorithm, but we
they
do
like break
not
apart.
teach algorithm.
Right, we don't teach
Some
algorithm.
kids, that's what their parents want them to do, and I had a parent argue with me last week that her kid was ready for it. I said, fine. He took the assessment and he failed. And I sent it home and I said, this is why he's not ready yet. He will be. But he needs to understand why you're doing what you're doing with the algorithm. So, you really saw 2 different ways to teach the same subject in here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to pattern blocks, and Heidi's going to do that.
It's actually your yellow packet that you have. You got to flip the yellow packet over. That's what I'm going to start with first, in the overside. So in second grade, we definitely talk about the different plane shapes, the names of the shapes. I know this is actually 4th quarter, week 8 and 9. So these students get this, you know, shapes at the very, very end of the year. And so with these different shapes, of course, they learn the sides and the sides and the corners. They do solid shapes for a week, so they learn all the vertices and the edges. Another thing is they learn how to, if they have a hexagon, what other shapes fit inside of the hexagon. 2 trapezoids, 6 triangles, so they're doing a lot of discovery games as well. So what I have here is a whole packet of games. I have so many more in my classroom. I just gave you a little variety of them. So the first one, of course, is just with patterns, where they can, you know, figure out, okay, that's a rhombus, a triangle, rhombus, a triangle, and just complete the pattern as well as they go along. The next one gets a little bit harder, so just more patterns in a row that they have to try to fill in and what comes next, things like that. And then they can also label the shapes, what are the names of them, because I know shape names are very difficult. And we always, of course, introduce the vocabulary, have visuals up all over with the name and what the shape looks like, and the same color. That's the pattern block.
And for kids that need acceleration.
Good morning, Strawberry Knoll. What a wonderful session this morning, Linda.
In our second grade, we have 3 centers, math by myself. math with a partner, and then math with teacher. And so this is a great math by myself or a partner game where they can compete. Ooh, let's see how many different ways we can get it. We also have a hexagon cover-up, same exact thing, except it's with a big shape. So, and now these are actually labeled too, as well. So again, this is another strategy, another activity they can do. The next thing, pizza patterns. The only thing that it's missing is a spinner, or what you can do is put those 4 shapes in a bag, and the kids can just pull out the shapes. And then what they do is they take turns and they pull a shape out, and they have to fill up a pizza with the toppings, which would be the triangle, the rhombus, or anything like that. And so then the first person who fills up a pizza, that's their pizza, and then they go to the next one. So they're trying to see what pizzas, you know, where they can put all the different shapes to fill in the pizza.
And this would be great for the early childhood kids because they can see the shapes and learn how to kind of manipulate them and work them together.
So then this one is a way to be differentiated. So this one here, it talks about, it actually gives you the number of shapes to use. So they pull out each of those shapes, and they try to make it here. So that's like the first way for the students that may need a little bit more assistance. We then have another way, which says use 8 blocks. Hint, 1 is yellow. So then they just have to try to figure all those different shapes out as well. The next one, actually, this is where now it gives them all the options, and then they can choose and do what they want. I also have a ton of them. They're just like a dinosaur, and then they can put all the different shapes, whether they have them already labeled. So it'll show you literally a rhombus, or it'll show you a hexagon, or it'll just give you a big shape of dinosaur, fill in the dinosaur.
Also, another one for that would be great at a station to say, okay, use the least amount of shapes. We'll have a class contest and see who can get the least amount of shapes.
And the last thing is called silly shapes. This is actually in our 2nd grade curriculum at the very last week of school. Make a rectangle or things like that. So we have a lot of games in our curriculum, and I know a lot of, they said kindergarten, 1st grade have a lot of games too. So it's great. If you need any of these, we can get them when we get white paper, which is coming soon, Mrs. Burgess said.
Make them on white.
You can make them on white. We have them in color, so if you don't want your stuff in yellow and you want to redo them, let me know. I have them all.
Yeah, this one's on the curriculum, so you can actually print it on the color printer. When there's white paper, it's a little nicer.
We have a lot
and
of
laminate them and keep them.
Yep.
Okay. Also, we were talking about, because all the curriculums seem to have a lot of games. If you need a game that's an enrichment for a kid or acceleration, or a game where you need to do some reteaching, definitely communicate with each other, send email, like, is this in your curriculum? Do you know what quarter it's in? So then we can find the games and share them, because I don't think there's anything wrong with a kid coming to 2nd grade having already played this game. It's great. You can help us teach the rest of the kids how to play.
They can lead a group.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what's nice.
So we hope you learned a lot. We thank you very much. If you need any other games, let us know. We got some